Welcome back to the Master Guitar podcast with Jay, and today not Bay. He's down in LA at the Riot's Secret Cinema, which looks super cool, and I wish I could go to, but COVID and living in Canada and such. So instead, I have Cameron Hanzo filling in for me. Cameron and I just had some epic battles on the ladder over the last couple of days. So I thought I'd bring him on here. We could pick his brain about the Poppy Timo Yordle deck that he's been smashing me with, um, and just talk about the meta and stuff in general. So before we jump over to your thoughts, I want to give a little backstory on what my journey was like. I raced up to Diamond on day one with Plunder, and then the Kennen Ezreal deck hit the scene, and I was just not really beating it. So I switched over to Kennen Ezreal and started climbing up again to Diamond One. And then I don't know how many times you beat me. I think it was three that it was a win and in for Masters, and I was like, come on, come on. And we've played I don't even know five
I
times, six
checked. I
times,
think it's like 10 plus games.
10 plus games. Yeah, I think I beat you once. I only remember beating you one time. So to say he gate kept me from Masters is very accurate. You were the third person to make it. Congratulations off of the drumming that you gave me. And then I couldn't get there. I was stuck in Diamond One for forever, for a day or day and a half. And I actually ended up switching over to your list to finally just getting
Oh,
the last
really?
two wins I
That's
needed.
funny.
Yeah, to get over. So I was playing Ezreal Kennen. You were on Poppies, and the matchup felt so rough to me. I was never beating you. As we played more and more, I started to figure things out a little bit more, and obviously you did as well. Some of the takeaways for me were one thing I noticed you were doing really well was I feel like you were searching up removal with your what do they call it, the two drop with the conch, and then also making sure that you left mana open so that it was never easy for me to be recalling my units. Because when I played against other players on the same deck and they just kept tapping out, I would just combo off and kill them, and it was relatively easy. So that was kind of my thoughts on the matchup. But I'm really curious to get your thoughts on that matchup, that deck, and everything else to do with your climb.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say something from Plat. I started with Brawls, surprise. And then by the time I Plat 2, I was like, okay, this is not working. So I was thinking, okay, because this Canon Ezreal is becoming really popular. When you hit Diamond, you say that they're becoming popular. But for me, it's when
Yeah.
Plat 2. And I was like, well, this deck's really annoying for Frost to deal with. What can I do about it? And then I saw this mono poppy list by Bo. And then
Okay.
immediately think of the Yoring Arms deck from a season ago.
Right.
And I think that
Love that deck.
with the cards that added, I think this deck will be good again because Rally got nerfed last patch, so that kind of just fades away. But I'm certain that there's two new cards that will save it. So that added in there. And then adding some more interactions to deal with Cannon because I realized that if you just have cheap pings, like the 2 minute pings, 1 minute pings, or just single comp, you're gonna force them to spend more mana just to answer your. So,
Yeah, yeah. So your list plays single combat, which I like, whereas a lot of and also pokey
stick.
stick, but not the one man, not group shot,
Yeah. So
right?
the reason why I don't I tried it. The reason why I don't like group shots because I'm kind of sacrificing what my deck's supposed to do to just try to fully counter kills, which I don't think it's right because we cannot just straight up focusing try to beat Canonized while making other matchups worse, right? Like because I also run lecturing Rodel and Conch, and those are basically another canon answer. So which I think it's
Yeah.
enough. And then it did fail enough because I feel like every time they try to call something or try to do whatever they're trying to do by just home mana, it's really hard for them. And then at some point they have to do it, and I just use my pins and just gain tempo from there. Then everything's just gonna be on my the way I think it's supposed
And
to
to your
be. Yeah,
advantage.
yeah, into my advantage.
Yeah, I actually think single combat is better than group shot against Kennen. Because they, you single combat with one of your, you have four
Yeah,
fours lying around all over the place, and then they can't just use twin disciplines,
yeah,
for instance, to save it.
exactly.
Uh, yeah, I the single combats were really annoying
Yeah.
for me out of your deck. Did you have as much success against other Kennen players, or were you just
No,
bullying the crap out of me?
like the whole Diamond Climb, I've been farming Canon S2 Masters. It was
Yeah.
so because like just by holding mana up, you're making their life insanely hard. And even
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. I played BBG today, and my hand was kind of mostly units, and I was like, what happens if I just like curve out on him and he just comboed me off and killed me
yeah,
like super
like
easy? And I
even
was
just
like, oh,
buffing, they're gonna be so scary.
exactly, exactly, yeah, yeah, because I know as the Kennen player, yeah, when they have mana up, it's because it's a blowout. It's an absolute blowout if you go to try and return your Kennen and they kill it. Or if you try to use a Kennen spell and they kill your Kennen, you lose two
Yeah,
Kennens. That's like
yeah, that's crazy
game
because
over.
I've won so many games just off by killing two cannons with a two-mana spell. Pokes.
Yeah,
It's
that's
insane.
yeah,
Like all their recall spells are like what homecoming, retreat, return. And if you just use your 1-2 mana spell and they have to commit more on it and still have the chance to get blown out, I think it's
yeah. So the meta's like to me is in a really interesting place. So Kennen hit the scene and was like, whoa, that deck is like next level, so powerful. But now this Yordle's deck is here that's like very good against it. And then just also pretty good in
yeah.
general. I'm curious like what else you like how your other matchups. I mean, the meta's still shaking out and stuff. But for instance, I got slammed pretty hard by a Lee Sin deck because I just kind of dirtily slowly went out at them. It was like way too slow. Not to say that's a bad matchup or anything, but I'm curious how what your thoughts are against the other decks in the meta with Yordles.
Like right now, since our units are so big that can even compete with a Jeep, I think we're in a pretty good spot against everything. Because we're in single combat. That makes like a lot of the matchups pretty even against Lee Sin with that big units that the white flame, you have single combat, you have contra, you can find a purify. There's so many ways to deal with a lot of things right now with this deck. The power level
Yeah,
is just insane with Explorer and Captain. Because, like, as a Storm deck, you will imagine that to resource really fast. But then a lot of the times you can have a whiteboard in your hand still bigger than your opponents, which I think it's insane.
yeah, yeah. It's wild. It's wild how that happens. And I need to apologize for any of the times that I said those cards were not going to be really good. I don't think I said too much about Explore, but the 4-drop, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, whatever. But again, the card's not busted. I think people thought it was going to be super broken, but it's very
It's
playable.
very
It's
good.
totally fine. And yeah, and I mean, you had a lot of that card was super annoying to play against. It came out as a 6/6 a lot of the time, or became quickly. Um, One of the other questions I had for you was in the mirror. I just played the mirror for the first time, and I mulled aggressively for those two cards. And I guess Poppy. Basically, I had a hand of like Teemos and like other stuff that was just kind of like not pumping my team. And I was like, I'm pretty sure we're just going to be bashing straight into each other, and I just want my stuff to be incrementally bigger. So I hard mulled for it. I got it. They didn't have it, and I won pretty handily. Yeah, is that kind of the strategy that you've used in the mirror? Or
Like in Mirror, we obviously want Explorer and Captain like ASAP, form everything for it because that's how we're gonna win. But then again, also I feel like a lot of the people they're not running single combat, which I think it's crazy.
yes,
Like the reason why single combat works in this deck is because your units are just insanely big. Like you imagine a Euro deck, things are like just really small. Single combat with like doesn't make sense. But like single combat in this particular like Euro Explorer and Captain that makes a lot of sense because it makes it so that single combat will trade very well. And against the people that are not running single
sorry,
combat,
give me one sec. Keep going.
against the people that are not running single combat, when they drop a Poppy, you can drop Election and just single combat.
Yeah, I single combated Sejuani today.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, how can you single combat Johnny as a Yordle deck?
Yeah, yeah. I think once people figure that out, it's gonna be a lot different because I see a lot of people still on group shot, and every single time it looks so unimpressive. Even when it's like good and they did like a 1 mana 2 damage got me, I'm still kind of like whatever.
It's a
And a
good
lot of
card,
times it's
like by all
very
means.
lackluster.
It's a really good card by all means. So one, but single combat, you can do it with a wilder than just.
Yeah, it's you like you say, because your units are so big, you can kill almost anything. So there's no matchups that you're like afraid of or not liking right now. I'm sure the meta will start to change, right? As people start to understand how good this deck is. Yeah, it'll evolve. What do you think maybe potentially might rise up? Like I was thinking maybe like, I don't know, some sort of Teemo Swain or like Spider Flock deck or something. I'm not really sure what a natural predator would look like.
I played against a few flock decks where feel like they're not because your units gone out of the range of flock anyways, which I think is funny. So
It's pretty
right.
funny.
So like just from the climb since Plaid played Team Up, I just don't feel like there's a matchup that I feel like I'm just so uncomfortable. Every matchup, like I feel like I have a decent good chance, even against Plunder. Imagine that it would.
Yeah, like you say, just the units snowballing how big they get is just so difficult for any deck to deal with. Um, I feel like you would need to sidestep it somehow, like maybe like a Soraka Tom Kench or like something that doesn't care, or like even like I beat a Frezreal deck, a Teemo Sejuani deck today, which seemed like, oh, maybe they'll just like hard lock me out with Sejuani, which they did. They like leveled Sejuani really fast. I think on 6 it came down levels, and I was like surprised. Um, and we're playing a deck full of just big guys and um and combat spells that require our units to have power when they're getting frozen, like single combat. So it seems like it should be a pretty bad matchup. And maybe it is, but they never got any sort of like mushroom card draw engine going. So eventually, I just kept my guys were too big, and I just kept throwing them, and they kept freezing, and eventually they just ran out of cards after like 4 or 5 turns. Yeah,
Just
I like searched up a ranger, the ranger yordle, so that I was like they kind of had to like deal like they had to use a freeze spell and then a damage spell to freeze the team consistently. Yeah, deck is very very powerful. Um, it's and I mean we're only on day 2, and it's interesting to see how the format went from like these cards are kind of cute to like oh my god Kevin Israel's busted to oh my god Yordles is busted like 2 days later. And I think everyone, the vast majority of people are still like at different points in that journey. Like some people are like Ezreal Cannon's unbeatable. Some people are like our Yordles are unbeatable, and some people are just like I don't know, are these decks even good? I'm just gonna play the old stuff. It's interesting. It's interesting to see everyone's hot takes and
I
stuff.
wonder what the next deck will be. They'll be like, oh, this deck's gonna be Yordle, and the Ezra's gonna come back all of a sudden. It's just gonna be so.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. Ezreal Kennan is busted for sure. There's so many decks that just like they just can't compete. There's no way. Plunder is like just not happening. Any sort of like control deck, a lot of the older decks are just can't handle it. And so yeah, maybe like yeah, Yordles holds it down quite a bit, but they'll adapt also. They'll probably, they'll bring the win percentage a little bit closer as they get better
Knowing
at
what they
piloting
do.
it too, perhaps. Yeah. Maybe even changing the list up, you know? If all you have to battle is like mirror and Yordles or a lot of it, then you could change some things as the meta adapts. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Um
Like I just cannot imagine what's gonna come next because right now at this point, I feel like I cannot come up with that that's gonna be favored into this Euro deck right now. I just can't.
yeah. There'll be
Yep.
something. I can never figure it out either. I'm always like, this deck's unbeatable. How do you beat it? But there's always like for instance, beating Ezreal Kennan, I was thinking of things that were like, I don't know, had a lot of removal or Twisted Fate made a lot of sense. I went to Pink City and I had a lot of success against Ezreal Kennan for a while. Um, and then I picked up Ezreal Kennan myself and kind of figured it out more. And I was like, oh, you just like don't run into red card. Just make sure that you like level your Kennans first and you don't just get them all wiped away. And like you could just go kind of one at a time and you could totally beat Pink City. I would dare to say that it's actually favored for Ezreal Kennan after playing that matchup a bunch. And so it's my main point is just that you never know what, like, I didn't think it was going to be the Yordle deck that got me as the Ezreal
Out of
Kennan
nowhere.
player. Yeah. Um, I want to talk a little bit about ladder also. I like kind of just stopped playing the ladder for a while. I would still just, I would make it in the top 700 to qualify for seasonals, which is pretty easy to do if you can put in some time, especially later in the season. Everyone else, most of the top players are already
Or on the
in
top.
Masters, already the top. Yes, the climb is quite easy. At the beginning of the season, the climb's a lot harder. All you're playing is other Masters players continually for the most part, a majority of them. Um, so but to get the 7-2 tiebreaker, you have to climb to the top of Masters, and it's extremely time consuming. Like you've done it quite a bit. You're often at the top of the ladder. I'm curious to get your thoughts on the ladder in general. Have you like figured out any ways to kind of like maximize your time? Because I mean, you have to be very good. You have to, kind of pick the right deck. You have to metagame a little bit. Um, and when you get at the top, like it's tough. It's a real grind. And so I just ended up being like, I don't have the time for it. Like I just can't put in that many hours in. We have so many other things going on. So I'll just qualify. I'll make it a season as I'll go play. But I keep going 7-2 and not having the tiebreak, and it's such a piss off. So this season I wanted to do it. I wanted to put in the time and climb, but I don't know. After just making this really fast master climb, and I guess what has it been, 2 days? I'm already like
Trained.
I don't know how much more. I don't know. Yeah, I already know. I don't know how much more climbing I got left in me already.
Take a
So
break.
yeah. So how do you approach the ladder? What are your thoughts on the ladder?
So like for let's say last season, for example, I got the 73,
Yeah.
but like I didn't just do it with like one sitting because I'm in school too. School's stressful. I want to balance this both out. So what I usually do is I will play a little bit. Like I give myself a 3 game when I'm busy, where I will play 3 games. If I want 2 of the 3, I'll keep. If I lost one, I'll stop because I don't want to get keep tilted. Because I know a lot of people will tilt and just go from 400 to 0. I'm not gonna say any names, just so like
Yeah.
I don't think that's good. Like you should give yourself a hard stop every day and give yourself a goal of LP. Then I think that's healthy. And just from those games that you play, you can take a lot of the stuff. Tomorrow you can keep going from yesterday and apply that to you'll do a lot better. And just like slowly going up, you'll get there. Like obviously
Yeah.
as you go
Those
to the top, it's
those
harder. But then if you just give yourself time and just relax and don't, oh I lose, I'm gonna play another one because I lost.
Yeah, don't tilt it away
Yeah.
for sure. It's yeah, tilt's a killer because each time you lose, that's like another game you have to win just to get back to where you are. You can dig yourself into a hole. Um, that's interesting. There were some seasons where I had a very similar setup as you're talking about, where you just play a few games because the games are pretty quick. So I would like I'd be in a meeting, I'd be doing something for an hour or something. I'd be taking like a little a little 5 minute breather. I'd pull out my phone, play a quick game. If I won, maybe I play one more. And then yeah, same thing. If I lost, I would like immediately get kind of like, oh, I get like I don't really get tilted, but I get like annoyed or upset, and I would just be like, whatever, I'll play one more game later. And I put it down, go back to work, and then just come back to it like an hour or so later. And maybe that's what I do this season, because yeah, the long grinds are really rough and maybe not totally necessary. Um, I'm curious also like when, because like I was saying, like it's a lot harder to climb right now, right? Um, well, yeah, there's like maybe 5 or 6 people in Masters right now. We're two of them. What's up?
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious though. I've never really been in this situation. Um, is it like so that whole LP thing? Like, if you're playing against people in Diamond, are you winning like the 15 points, or do you win more points? Is it like do you find that you can? I mean, you definitely have an edge right now with your deck, right? People haven't caught on. You're playing it a lot better than everyone else. So there's definitely an edge to be gained to climb right now. So I'm curious about timing. Like, do you kind of just are you just climbing consistently throughout the season, little by little? Or like, are there points where like, um, it's like easier? Like, for instance, that week before the cutoff of seasonals, a lot of people are trying out different decks. A lot of people are just not playing. A lot of the top players are just sitting on their ranking. So do you find any differences between the beginning, middle, and the end of the season?
I always climb slowly by slow to the top. Like I'll kind of start sitting to the side. I'll keep climbing. When I hit the 7-2, I'll just stop. Never like and I heard a lot of people will climb at the last, like you said, and I don't think that's a good plan because like a lot of people are playing. Like you may think that it's very easy to climb, but then the stress level that hey, what if I don't make it? I think that's a lot of people that end up not make it because they decide to climb at the last week. The stress level was just insane. They, I can see them they tilt a lot. That's just not.
Yeah, yeah, the stress level is definitely there. It's definitely like big gamble. I feel like people either make it or they just like crash right now. And either way, expended a lot of energy and a lot of time. And yeah, I would much rather do it the way that you're suggesting and just like go little by little. Um, you talk about, when you get to the 7-2 mark, not play anymore. One, that's something that Riot needs to work on because there should never be a reason to not play the game,
Yeah,
right? The people that are the best at your game and have played it the most, probably, you've now incentivized to no longer play the game. And let's be real, we all get Smurf accounts and then we all go play, or we play like off ranked or whatever. We're still playing, but ideally there'd be like another way to do that. Sorry, I had a question there and I just totally forgot. Oh yeah, sorry. What is the point? How do you know you're at the 7-2 mark, or what is that line for you?
like every season I give myself 550. I think
That's your goal?
that's usually the safe spot for 70. So that's my goal every season. 500 should be fine, but 550 is just safe.
What did it look like last season? Because how high did you make it, and what decks did you play, and what was your kind of progression look like?
Last season, Frost is definitely one of the best decks. I'm happy. Climb little by little. Last season there's not a lot of masters. Like it's probably the lowest for the season.
Yeah, to date, yeah.
Yeah. And when I get to 500, it's like I'm already in a good spot, so I just stopped it. And I use the same strategy, just little by little, not too much, just even out every single
And just thralls the whole time?
thing. Because last season Frost was really so.
Yeah. Have there been other seasons where do you mostly stick with one or two decks, or have there been seasons where you've, had to like move around as the meta shifted?
This season, for example, I never play top eight rally decks. I don't like them.
Hmm.
But this season it seems pretty. Those two cards seems really good. I think if it's the meta well, it beats Cannon, so I adapt to it. But the seasons before I mainly just played Falls. It's good.
Yeah. That's really impressive. How did you pick up on this deck potentially being so good?
Like, why did I pick up?
Yeah, like I looked at people playing this deck and I was like, haha, that's cute. Like I didn't for a second think like, oh, this is super busted.
Like, I like combo decks, and I think it's just really cool. It's like a puzzle to solve. Okay, how can I make this Falls? Like, how can I get all these Falls out at the same time, kill them on spot? Like, it's like a puzzle for me to solve, and I really like puzzles. And I feel like playing Falls is basically solving a puzzle. Like, how can I use this countdown, solve, attack everything? I'm not sure if that makes sense for some people. Just
Gotcha. That's really interesting. Sorry, but I meant the other deck. I meant the Yordle deck. How did you
Thanks for
No, it's fine. I'm also very interested in how you ended up on Thralls, because again, that's not a deck that, you're maybe the only person. There's not many people that are like, this is for me. This is my thing. I love it too, because I also like combo decks, and I also like it's not like a combo deck in like Ezreal Kennen or like Lee Sin. It's like different. It's like you said, it's like a puzzle deck. It's almost like in Magic the Gathering, there's like lock decks where you need like all the different pieces of the puzzle to like slowly like pull the win together. And I feel like Thralls is like that. I really enjoyed Thralls. I played Thralls last season. I've been playing Thralls this season in all the tournaments. The only 4-0 member of the Mastering Runeterra team in the academy, so it's no big deal. Maju Bay currently 0-2. Just for the record, just for anyone keeping score at home. But yeah, so how did you get on to? Because you said you don't like Yordles, so I was like, how did you end up on the Yordle deck then?
Because every start of season, I'm gonna tell myself, hey, I'm not playing Frost this season. Let's learn something. Let's adapt to new ways to play. I just feel like
Huh?
it's a good thing. So
Yeah, was that sort of like have you played a lot of rally decks in the past where you're trying to like fill out sort of your what do you call that? Kind of like your toolbox
yeah,
or your knowledge
yeah.
base?
I
Y-
just want to touch on it. Like I think like it a lot because I feel like it's like kind of like control play against Kennen, and I like control decks, so it kind of picked up
Yeah.
really easily.
Yeah, when you play that matchup for sure. I can tell the way that you play it too. It's very methodical. It's a giant pain in the ass to play against you. Every time we queue up and I'd see your name, I'm like, come on, really? What is this? No one else is playing this game right now? 10 times. I didn't realize we played that
But
many.
not like I don't
Um,
know. Section by section, we'll play 3 and stop.
yeah.
Or
Yeah, you would knock me down, and then I would like come back up for my win it in and be like, please, please, please not Cameron. And it would always be
wait,
you. um Yeah, that's really smart. That's something that I try to do as well to try to fill out my knowledge base of decks because it just serves you so well as a Runeterra player. Even if you're not going to play the deck yourself, it lets you understand what your opponent is doing, and thus, if if you switch decks and you play against that deck, or like if you switch to a different deck and your opponent's playing Yordles, you're like, oh, I know that deck. I know it inside and out. I know exactly what they're capable of, what they can be doing, and that's what the game's like all
it's
about.
like you're in their shoes right now. Like Frost hates rally
Yeah.
panels, right? He hates Poppy, he hates all those decks. And now, but if I'm playing it, I know what are they trying to do against some decks. So now when I go back to Frost, I'll be like, oh hey, they're probably gonna do this. That's gonna help. This applies to
Yeah.
any
So
decks.
much. Yeah. To any decks. You know, I've made lots of very unconventional plays because I understand what the opponent is trying to do very well. And then I can now try to counteract that. Things like playing units without getting activations from them. So, like, say the black market merchant in Plunder, like I played it on turn 2 with no activation because, like, I understood that I just needed to be aggressive and deal damage as quickly as possible in whatever matchup this was. Stuff like that. And whereas, and also mulligans are huge. After playing against you so much, I had a somewhat decent understanding
Adaptive.
of the Yordle deck. Yeah, I was, adapting to you and learning from our matches. And so then when I played the mirror, I was like, okay, I bet like I can understand where this is going. We're just both of us are gonna make giant things. I want to make mine as big as possible. In my opener was 4 cards that were like they curved down nicely, like Timo, like the 2-drop that's elusive into a mayor,
Into
and then like
Poppy.
whatever yeah, and then whatever on and then some other card. And I was like, well, none of these pump my team. I'm just gonna curve out and they're gonna like pump their team and I'm gonna be smaller. So I full mold, got all the guys that pumped my team. They curved out. I pumped my team and I crushed them and it felt really good just being like, yeah, I understood the matchup. I was able to make the right mulligan. It paid off and I won. And and that's I think a big thing that a lot of people are missing. Where they're like, why am I not winning as much or why am I losing? It's things like that like you're like, oh, I kept a good hand. It had like a 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, and a trick on the end. Fantastic. Because in Magic, that's in a lot of card games, that's what you do. You just like curve out. Um,
Solitaire.
whereas yeah, you solitaire. It's there's a lot more of solitaire. Whereas Runeterra is
Yeah.
not like that at all. It's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot more like poker. It's a lot like trying to trick your opponent. You know what? I saw a really good analogy. I think it's a lot like poker. I don't know how much poker you've played. But there's a saying that you don't make money based on like how smart you are. You make money from your opponent's mistakes. And often in poker, you're trying to get your opponent to make mistakes. And so you'll give them options. You'll give them more options, like to put more money in the pot, for instance, when you have a strong hand. It's the same as in Runeterra, where you can give your opponent options often to make a certain play. Um, so that you can punish them
to
for
get in
it.
your trap.
And exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of that in Runeterra as well. Man, I love the game. So it's so deep, so good. Um, what else you got for us? What other little nuggets of wisdom? You want to talk about thralls for a while?
I, like I'm gonna talk about decks again. Like I feel like if you want to learn decks, I think start of season is probably the best best time to do it. Because I feel like if you really want to climb, I think it's best to stick on one or two decks that are comfortable with. But at the start of the season, you should
Yeah,
try many decks to know different matchups and to just that way when you're go back to your comfort and climb actually you know the matchups like way better that suits for this season. So I think right now it's the best time to experience, learn more stuff that which answer. Which that's what I'm doing right now, learning archetypes I never even
yeah,
touched or think I would touch before. And it's been helping.
yeah. It's really important to get that kind of jump at the beginning of the season because, like for instance, you and I are playing these matches back and forth, and we're both like, our knowledge base is growing and learning. Whereas I feel like if we were to play these matches, I don't know, a month from now or 3 weeks from now, even 2 weeks from now, and you had been playing the whole time and I hadn't, you would probably just smash me and I might just like not really pick up on as much. I'm like, oh, it's a bad matchup. It's just a bad matchup. I wouldn't like pick up on as much of like what you're doing or what the intricacies are, or even the ways that my deck could potentially combat yours because the knowledge gap would just be so large. And then also like everything evolves, like you and I are battling each other. We're learning new ways to combat and like maybe trying out new cards and all of that knowledge like evolves throughout the season. And if you kind of just jump in like halfway through, you're missing this whole like big piece of knowledge in it. It's kind of a
Yeah,
detriment.
like I can see you won't make the mistake that you like the next time when we play,
Hmm.
you won't make the same mistake. That's the sign of improvement. It's just like would I play like you know, s- I won't care that much, but if I get something from that game, if I learn something from that game, I think it's worth for like because losing winning is just temporary, but getting
Yeah,
so that's more important than just losing. To learn and just get something. Like if you lose, sure. Like what can you take away? Why do you lose? If you do this, you have a better chance of winning. If you understand that, you learn from that. The next time the same situation come, now you know what to do. That can just increase your chance of that can increase that can improve. I think that's really important.
100%. Yeah, we're always talking about the learning mindset here is also a very good way to combat tilt. Because if you are just trying to win, then you're just going to get very frustrated. You're going to end up losing. You're not going to be learning, and you're not going to be, evolving as a player, which is what like you're saying, that's what you need to be doing. And so, yeah, just go in looking to learn. Like I try to think of it also as like I'm almost like an adventurer. It's like I'm going on a trip. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to play this game. We'll just see what's going to happen and just see what I learned. Who knows? Anything can happen. It's wild. Let's have some fun. And then you learn, you get better, which means you win more. Um, and you also don't get like burnt out. Because yeah, when you're trying to just like climb the ladder, just like win. I need to win. I need to win fast now. You just get so burnt out. I do it all the time. Happens to be uh lots because you just get so obsessed. Got to get to masters. Got to get to front page. Got to get to number one. Got to go, and then you want to play faster. Then you make more mistakes, and it's like you end up heading in the opposite
So
direction. It
you're
ends up being
tilting
very
more, you're not learning,
detrimental.
you're just playing nothing.
Yeah. And also, another, good poker analogy, um, is that, when you're playing poker, you should be paying attention all the time. A lot of people are, if you've ever seen people at a poker table, they're on their phones, they're, having a drink, they're talking to people, they're looking around the room. There's stuff going on, like even when you're not in the hand, that you should be learning and pay attention to. Oh, this is how this person plays this hand. This is how this person plays that hand. This is what they did in this situation. And this is all information that you should be processing. And the same is true in Runeterra. If you ever play a game and you think there wasn't something to learn from it, like you're just wrong. There's always something to learn.
Every single game.
Um, yeah, every single game. Because also you shouldn't be playing all of your games the same. If you're winning every single game, like, okay, sure, but nobody is.
Nobody is.
So, yeah, and there's always changing uh differentials. There's another word for that. But like your opponent is always going to be different, and how they play their deck and what exactly their deck is will always be changing. And so how you combat that also needs to be changing. Um, yes, try to be static, try to be trying out different things. Even if you're winning, you still make lots of mistakes and win. We all do it. We probably none of us really play a perfect game. It's probably very, very rare. Um, so most of the time, one of you or your opponent will be winning, and we probably both made a bunch of mistakes. The winner made a bunch of mistakes also. Um, so yeah, always be reiterating, always be trying stuff, always be trying to learn. Um, any other thoughts? Anything else you want to talk about as we're hitting the 35-minute mark here?
No, I think it was a good.
Yeah, I think we nailed most of the topics I want to talk about. Um, Real quick though, I do want to know how did you get into thralls like originally? When was that?
Thralls. I got into Thralls at the Rise of On. So when Echo just came, that's when I picked.
Okay,
That's the season
yeah, where do you finish?
I finished top 4. That's
Top
that
four,
that
right?
season's the season I started playing for. How I picked up on it is just I saw opponent but that looks interesting. It's not like feels like my type of deck because it's like they're trying to solve this puzzle. I'm trying to do my thing. Try it out. And I tried it. It starts.
Just fell in love with it. That's awesome. Yeah, that's the best. Um, okay, well, we'll wrap it up here. Mastering Runeterra $8,000 tournament series starts this Sunday. Go sign up. You can find all the links and everything at masteringruneterra.com. Huge shout outs to Community Gaming for sponsoring the event, and also Riot Games, who is helping us promote it and also giving us a bunch of in-game items to go out to you guys. I really hope you enjoy it. Coverage every Sunday will be on Majin Bay's Twitch channel. So come hang out, say hi. I'll probably be there chatting with people. Cameron, I hope you end up playing.
It's my birthday that day, so I'll play.
Oh, so you're gonna
Maybe.
win? All right. That's it for me and Cameron. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you guys again next week. Bye.